Kanye West is getting candid about his career. In a now-deleted post on X reshared on social media, the rapper gives his take on why he was never asked to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show.
While people all over the world have been struck by its stunning imprint of the face of Jesus Christ.
Kanye West, music icon, cultural rebel, a man whose faith journey has sparked headlines for years. But during one unforgettable concert, as blue lights danced across the stage, a young girl asked him a question about God that no one expected. What Kanye said next left the entire arena in stunned silence. Has he yet truly found Jesus? Or is this another chapter in his roller coaster spiritual journey? Join us as we find out what answer Kanye West gave the girl who asked him about God. I have issues with Jesus. The camera zooms in on Kanye West, now known as Ye, his face serious under the bright studio lights. He sits across from radio host Big Boy, ready to talk about his new album, Vultures 1. The conversation starts casually enough, but then takes an unexpected turn. Ye leans forward and begins to share his complicated feelings about faith.
I see good things. The Jew, I love everyone. I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table.
He tells Big Boy that he has struggled with religion, especially when his prayers went unanswered during tough times. The studio grows quiet as he explains how he felt abandoned when asking for divine help with his children, his business, and his music. The weight of his words hangs in the air. This is the same artist who once filled stadiums with his Sunday service choir, who released an album called Jesus is King, and who claimed to have abandoned secular music to spread the gospel. Now, he sits in this interview chair questioning the very foundation of those beliefs. Behind Ye's current frustration is a complex spiritual journey. Born in Atlanta and raised in Chicago, he first gained fame as a producer before releasing his debut album, The College Dropout, in 2004. His mother, Donda West, played a huge role in his life until her sudden death in 2007 following surgery complications. Many fans believe this loss deeply affected his faith and mental health. The interview continues as Ye explains his issue with the common phrase, "I'll pray for you." He finds it frustrating when people offer prayers instead of taking actual steps to help. His eyes narrow as he talks about real problems facing communities: prison sentences, abortion clinics, and land taken through gentrification. He believes these issues need more than just words sent up to heaven. What makes this confession so shocking is how it contrasts with Ye's previous religious zeal. Just a few years earlier, in 2019, he traveled across America with his Sunday service choir, dressed in matching outfits, singing gospel songs in places from Coachella to church parking lots. People from all backgrounds stood in long lines to attend these events, which felt like part church service and part Kanye concert.
Kanye's been doing these pop-up religious concerts all over. Look at this crowd. We didn't even know about this event.
During these Sunday services, Ye seemed fully committed to Christianity. The choir sang songs about God's power and protection. They performed at Howard University with powerful renditions of classic gospel songs that reminded people of the music sung by slaves seeking comfort in their faith. The services connected modern hip-hop culture with traditional Black church experiences. His openness about these doubts connects with many fans who have questioned their own faith. Studies show that nearly half of Americans have changed their religious beliefs at some point in their lives, often after experiencing personal hardships. From doubting Jesus to declaring divinity, how does a man who questions his faith claim to be a god? "Because I'm God." The room falls silent as Ye's words hang in the air. He has just told Big Boy that he considers himself God, at least the God of his own life. The camera catches the subtle widening of eyes around the studio as the rapper explains that no one can tell him who he is. The statement lands like a bomb in the middle of an already explosive interview. This isn't the first time Ye has made godly comparisons. Back in 2013, he released a song titled "I Am a God" on his album Jesus. During that time, he performed concerts wearing masks that covered his entire face, standing alone on mountain-shaped stages that lifted him high above his audience. The symbolism wasn't subtle. He wanted to be seen as larger than life. In footage from 2006, a younger Kanye appears on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine wearing a crown of thorns, blood streaking down his face in a clear reference to Jesus Christ. Even then, 17 years ago, he was playing with religious imagery in ways that shocked both fans and critics. His claim to godhood comes at an unusual time in his career. Ye's public image has taken serious hits in recent years. His fashion partnerships with major brands like Adidas and Gap fell apart after he made anti-Semitic comments.
Giant has released a statement announcing that their partnership with Ye is going to be evaluated.
His presidential run in 2020 gathered more confused headlines than actual votes. And his divorce from Kim Kardashian played out painfully in public view. In clips of Ye's Sunday service performances, the contrast is striking. There he stands, surrounded by a choir dressed in flowing robes, singing about the glory of Jesus, not himself. During this period, around 2019, he spoke openly about being born again and leaving behind secular music. He traveled to churches and venues across America, bringing his gospel-infused music to crowds of thousands. A psychology expert offers context. She explains that extreme shifts in religious identity sometimes occur during periods of personal crisis. He has spoken openly about his bipolar disorder diagnosis, and his behavior has shown signs of manic episodes that can include grandiose thinking. Born to a Christian mother who worked as an English professor, young Kanye grew up with faith as part of his life. After achieving fame, he released songs like "Jesus Walks" that showed his complicated relationship with religion. Then came the Sunday service era, where he embraced Christianity fully, or seemed to. And now, this new claim about being his own God represents another sharp turn. His fans have different reactions to these statements. For some, especially young black men who look up to him, his words about being the God of me represent self-empowerment and taking control of one's identity. Others see dangerous ego and blasphemy. Religious leaders worry about the impact on impressionable followers. Music critics point out that Ye's entire career has been built on contradiction and evolution. He breaks rules and rebuilds his image constantly. One day, he's the humble servant of Christ, and the next, he's claiming divine status for himself. Big Boy asks a follow-up question about these claims. He looks directly into the lens, unflinching in his belief. He seems unconcerned about how his words might affect his standing in religious communities that once embraced him. Viewers are left wondering which version of Ye is real, the devoted gospel choir leader, or the man who sees himself as a god. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, in the complex mind of an artist who has never been afraid to challenge both his audience and himself. From divine claims to darker demons, how did a man who once celebrated adult entertainment become a voice for purity? From porn, awards to preaching. On one end sits a photo of Ye proudly performing at the Pornhub Awards in 2018, dressed in oversized clothes with a new haircut. On the other end, the footage shows him leading a Sunday service, eyes closed in worship. The contrast is stark and puzzling. In just over a year before launching his Sunday service, Ye was not only attending, but actively producing an awards show for the adult entertainment industry. He designed the trophies, created merchandise, and even released a new song at the event. His involvement was complete and enthusiastic. A former collaborator shares that pornography had been a constant presence in the rapper's life since childhood. Ye himself has spoken about finding his father's adult magazine when he was only 5 years old, opening a door to what would become a lifelong struggle with. This early exposure shaped his views on women and relationships for decades.
22. Bashoda alleges that she was shown texts sent from West to his wife Bianca Sensori, in which he tells her he wants to have with her mother.
His music videos often featured scantily clad models. His lyrics frequently referenced in explicit detail. Even his fashion shows sometimes included models in revealing outfits that drew criticism from industry watchers. Yeah, in a 2019 interview, now speaks a completely different language. His eyes look clearer, his tone more measured. He talks about fighting his addiction to pornography after becoming a Christian. He describes deleting adult content from his devices and trying to live in a new way. A faith counselor explains how sudden religious conversions often involve dramatic lifestyle changes. For some people, the realization of their harmful behaviors leads to a complete rejection of their past lives. Clips from Ye's album Listening Party for Jesus is King. Gone are the explicit lyrics and instead, he raps about salvation, forgiveness, and his new relationship with God. A cultural critic points out that Ye's transformation mirrors other famous religious conversions throughout history. From St. Augustine to Bob Dylan, creative people have often experienced dramatic spiritual awakenings that change both their personal lives and their art. Ye acknowledges that recovery from addiction isn't simple or straightforward. He mentions having patience for friends still caught in the lifestyle he left behind. This shows a new humility, recognizing his own journey while not judging others still on their path. Ye's family life changed during this period. His marriage to Kim Kardashian was evolving too. He began asking her to dress more modestly in public. They appeared together at church services. Their conversations about faith became part of their reality TV narrative. The transformation wasn't happening in isolation, it affected everyone around him. Medical experts note that dramatic personality changes can sometimes be linked to mental health conditions. Ye's openness about his bipolar disorder diagnosis adds another layer to understanding his shifting beliefs and behaviors.
Kanye West's very revealing new interview with David Letterman. The rapper details his struggle with mental illness.
Manic episodes can include religious preoccupation and major life decisions made quickly. Personal change is one thing, but could the man who once rapped about worldly pleasures truly transform arenas into houses of worship? Sunday service becomes a full gospel experience. The camera sweeps over the famous blue-rimmed Forum in Inglewood, California. Cars fill the parking lot as thousands of people wait in lines that snake around the building. Some wear church clothes, others sport Yeezys and street wear. The diverse crowd shares one thing: curiosity about what awaits them inside. Their faces show surprise as they step into what should be a normal concert venue. Instead of the usual bare stage and seating, the entire Forum floor has been transformed into a massive garden. Thousands of live plants and flowers create paths and spaces throughout the arena. The air smells fresh and earthy, unlike the typical stadium scents of beer and nachos. In the center of this indoor garden stands a perfect circle, raised slightly above the plants. A beam of light shines down from the ceiling, creating what looks like a portal above the circular stage. The effect makes it seem like the sky itself has opened up above the performance space. The clock shows the concert is running an hour late, but no one seems to mind. Teenagers with their parents, elderly women in church hats, music industry executives, and college students of every background. This is not the typical audience for either a rap concert or a church service, but something entirely new. When the performance finally begins, 75 choir members dressed in matching outfits file into the circle. Behind them, a full band sets up with drums, keyboards, and guitars. The choir director, Jason White, steps forward. He has worked with Ye on Sunday service since its beginning in January 2019, when it was just small gatherings at Ye's home studio in Calabasas. The sound that fills the forum when they begin is unlike anything most concert venues have heard before. The choir sings with the power and skill of professional performers, but the heart and spirit of church worship leaders. Their voices blend into one massive sound that bounces off the walls and washes over the crowd.
Kanye West performing in Pigeon Forge today as part of the Strength to Stand Student Bible Conference. The two Sunday service performances expected to bring nearly 20,000 people.
Between songs, the choir director speaks to the audience about Jesus and freedom. He asks them to raise their hands, and surprisingly, many do, even those who have never been to church before. The crowd looked emotional, some with tears streaming down their cheeks. Halfway through the performance, something unexpected happens. A preacher steps forward into the center of the circle. He begins to speak about salvation and reads from the Bible. His style resembles famous evangelists like Billy Graham, who filled stadiums in the 1950s and 60s with similar messages. A young man with tattoos and designer clothes admits he had never heard a sermon before, but found himself strangely moved. A middle-aged woman who came because her daughter loves Ye's music says she wasn't expecting to cry during what she thought would be just a hip-hop show. The performance continues with a surprising guest appearance. Kenny G, the famous saxophone player with curly hair and smooth jazz hits, walks into the circle. The unlikely pairing of Kenny G with Ye shows how this new spiritual journey crosses all musical boundaries. Throughout the event, Ye himself stays mostly in the background. Unlike his usual concerts where he commands center stage, here he seems content to let the message and music be the focus. When he does step forward to perform parts of his new album, Jesus is King, he does so with none of his usual swagger. As the service nears its end, Ye brings his young daughter on stage. She shyly smiles as the crowd cheers. This small family moment humanizes the controversial star, showing a side rarely seen in his public appearances. The forum event ends not with fans rushing the stage or typical concert chaos, but with something no one expected: a full altar call. The choir director invites people to accept Jesus, and many in the arena bow their heads to pray. The line between concert and church service has completely disappeared. Stadium prayers and gospel choirs create powerful moments, but behind the spectacle is a bigger question. Is Ye's faith genuine, or just his latest reinvention? Jesus is King, or just controversy? As people exit Ye's Sunday service, their faces show both confusion and wonder. The timeline of Ye's career shows the dramatic turns it has taken. Each album cover appears on screen, from The College Dropout to Jesus is King, showing the evolution of an artist who has constantly reinvented himself. A music historian points out that religious themes have always been part of Ye's music, even in his earliest work. His 2004 hit, Jesus Walks, boldly brought faith into mainstream hip-hop when many artists avoided the topic. This wasn't simply a new phase. Seeds of his spiritual interests were planted long ago. But not everything in Ye's gospel journey has been smooth. A lawsuit regarding the viral prayer sample used in his song Ultralight Beam, the sweet voice of a little girl praying, which opened one of his most religious songs, became the subject of legal trouble when her adoptive parents claimed Ye never got proper permission to use it. He had asked her biological mother instead of her legal guardians. This small detail reveals something deeper about Ye's approach to faith. Rather than following traditional religious boundaries, he often blends sacred themes with his creative vision. There is a divide in perspectives: those who see his choices as bold expressions of belief, and others who view them as self-serving. A theologian discusses how Ye's understanding of Christianity seems to change with each interview. His early Sunday services featured traditional gospel songs about submission to God. Yet in later interviews, he spoke about being his own God.
Ask West any question about virtually anything, and the conversation moves back to his faith in God.
This back and forth has left many religious leaders unsure what to make of his testimony. Social media comments from fans reveal some defend Ye, saying his struggles with faith are honest and relatable. Others accuse him of using Christianity as his latest marketing strategy. Then there was Ye's controversial presidential run in 2020, where he held campaign rallies that looked more like emotional revival meetings than political events. He cried on stage while discussing abortion and made strange claims about historical figures. His behavior during this period raised concerns about his mental health among both fans and medical professionals. It doesn't end there. Ye purchased 4,000 acres of ranch land. Here, he planned not just to create clothing and music, but to build a sustainable community based partly on Christian principles. Aerial footage shows the vast, empty land that represents both his ambition and the gap between his ideas and reality. A psychologist specializing in celebrity behavior explains how public figures often feel pressured to create bigger and more dramatic moments to maintain attention. For someone like Ye, who has built a career on pushing boundaries, a religious transformation provides fresh material and new audiences. Yet there have been pieces of evidence of genuine change. People who worked closely with him during the Sunday service era describe his daily prayer habits, Bible study, and sincere questions about faith. Former porn industry connections confirm he truly did walk away from that world, despite what it cost him professionally. A young woman describes how the Sunday services helped her reconnect with faith after years away from church. A music producer explains how Ye created a space where hip-hop culture and gospel traditions could blend in ways that brought new people to spiritual messages. Ye, who has never shied away from the camera and the exposure that comes with it, his future spiritual path is just as unpredictable as his past. Whether this is a lasting conversion or just another chapter in Ye's ever-changing journey, one thing is clear: his story continues to blur the lines between faith, fame, and personal transformation. Will Ye's next reinvention bring him closer to God or further into his own divinity? Can a man torn between being a Messiah and following one ever truly find peace? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.